All right, everybody. It's an emergency broadcast from the 80 Robles YouTube channel. This is a bona fide emergency. All right, well, welcome back to the channel. It has been a couple of weeks since I last posted something, and part of that was unintentional, part of that was intentional. I ended up getting COVID on Friday. It was kind of a funny circumstance. You know, my family had been sick and stuff like that, and I was kind of like on Friday during the day. I went, went to the gym, did everything I normally do, and I was just kind of feeling great. I was like, yeah, I've been hitting the sauna, so I'm basically. I can't get sick. I mean, the sauna's just killing the viruses. It's just amazing. I was just spouting out all the sauna propaganda. And then I was like, it's like 4:30. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna go hit the bike a little bit. So I went on the bike a little bit, exercise. Everything was fine, and I got off the bike, and I was like, yeah, gotta feel a little warm. Check my temperature, and I had a fever. The exercise induced a fever, and so I was sick for a few days, and it's kind of lingering even still. But for the most part, it was okay. So everyone's okay. We had a good Christmas and everything like that. But we did have, the COVID, the coronavirus, which, honestly, like I feel more vindicated every day that I hear about the coronavirus. Because I remember being mocked many times when I said, it's just like the flu. Probably not even as bad as the flu. That's what I said in the beginning. And yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like the flu, except not as bad as the flu. So there you go. Anyway, I did want to do a video today. What I'm thinking for 2024 is I'm probably going to do more like what John does with his videos. He does a lot more live streams than he does the videos. And I think I'm going to have to do that because I'm going to be pretty busy this year. I've got a lot of plans for business that are going to require a lot more time. So the live streams are good because it's not like you don't have to edit them and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm thinking about doing, but we'll see. We'll see how the year goes. I make no promises. I make no promises. Anyway, but I'll tell you what, the great evangelical pivot has started. The pivot. Well, I guess it hasn't really started. This has been kind of going on for the last couple of years, sort of in low key ways, but there's just a lot of pivoting happening right now, and I just thought I'd point it out because I think it's pretty funny. The first one here, of course, is the James Lindsay pivot, the anti-fascist James Lindsay pivot, and this one's just more kind of humorous to me. James Lindsay is a humorous individual to me, and not for the reasons that he tries to be humorous. It's just I don't know. So every time I see a James Lindsay tweet, I just kind of laugh to myself a little bit. And here's one that he posted on New Year's Eve. And I thought this was pretty funny. He says, I'm sometimes wrong and almost always hope I'm wrong. That said, my spidey sense is tingling and telling me I need to get as far away from the, quote, conservative movement as possible. Fast. When I read this, I did laugh out loud, and it's just too funny. I mean, what could this mean? What could this mean? He's got a spidey sense, and now he thinks he's got to leave the conservative movement. Number one, I didn't even know he was in the conservative movement, so there's that. But think about this: like James Lindsay, if you go by what his handlers say, he's like one of the most courageous guys around. And like I guess what he's saying here is that I guess there's bad people in the conservative movement. I mean, typical for a liberal to say that. Nothing new here. But he's a little too close. He doesn't want to fly too close to the sun, and he's got to leave because the hammer's gonna drop. I mean, what a coward, honestly. If he really did feel that the things he's saying are true and right and things like that. You would think it wouldn't matter if the other foot was going to drop. You would think. And so, on the one hand, this could be just a very open and overt cowardly tweet. But actually, I don't really think that's what it is. I don't think that James Lindsay's really a coward in that way. I think he's just a troublemaker. He's trying to cause trouble. That's what his whole mission has been. He's not a conservative. He's a liberal. And, so he's kind of found an opportunity to worm his way into conservative circles and to influence them. And now he's leaving, allegedly, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people are like, yeah, you're not leaving anything because that's who pays you. You know what I mean? But but now he's leaving the conservative movement. I think the idea is, and I think this has been James's idea from the beginning. You know, you go in there, you get your bona fides, and then you cause this part of the conservative movement to fight this part of the conservative movement, and then you cause chaos, you make them weaker. I think that's what this lifelong liberal, idiotic atheist's plan has been from the beginning. He's always talking about ops, you know, and like the psyops and all this stuff. And he's always kind of pointing out other people. But, you know, his ironclad rule of woke projection, I think, is projection itself. This is what he's doing. You know, has the conservative movement got stronger since James Lindsay's influence, or because of James Lindsay's influence, or weaker? I would argue weaker. And it's gotten more suspicion is being thrown people's way. And even especially in, forget the conservatives as a whole. I mean, I don't really care so much about that. But the church itself, you know, the evangelical church or the right-wing church, the non-woke part of the church, has he made it stronger or weaker? I would argue his influence has been very negative for the church. You know, he's caused lots of brothers that are solid brothers to look at someone like me with suspicion. Oh, he might be a Fed. This is an op. You know what I mean? Like all this kind of stuff. It's all baseless. It's all completely baseless. You know, they have no freaking idea about what a guy like me is doing or who he's listening to or things like that. They just know I'm not listening to them. And so to really get into his mindset, his whole points are, if you don't listen to me, then that's an op. You must be listening to the feds. I think that's projection. That's what I think. I think James Lindsay is projecting. And so, yeah, he's leaving the conservative. Nobody cares. Nobody cares at all that we want you to leave the conservative movement. You've been helpful in some ways, but overall, it's a negative influence. We have no need, James, for atheists in the conservative movement. We have no need for it. You can be here if you like, but we don't need you. We don't care what you think about morality. We don't care what you think about Christian stuff. I know he tries to theologize. He tries to theologize and, oh, you're a fake Christian. That's the one that gets me. That one tickles me so much. This is a fake Christian. 80 Robles is a fake Christian. Yeah, okay, James. Always provides me a little bit of humor. But yeah, James Lindsay, he's going to leave. I promise this is going to be like when Blake Callen said he's going to leave Twitter. Yeah, sure you are. Sure you are. Oh, man. Yeah, James Lindsay, man. This guy, I always forget he exists for like long periods. And then I see somebody, you know, retweet him. Or I can't see that anymore. He blocked me finally. I see this, you know, a screenshot of him. And I always, every time I remember that he exists, it always gives me a little chuckle. Because the thing is, he's a schemer. James Lindsay is a schemer, and he's a negative influence on the church, in my opinion. But that being said, he does provide a lot of humor. A lot of humor. You know what I mean? As try as he might to not be one of the Reddit atheist types, he's still a Reddit atheist. I mean, a leopard can't change his spots. An Ethiopian can't change his skin. You know what I mean? Oh, man. James Lindsay. He's a funny guy. Funny guy. So there's one pivot. Then we got, of course, the old Denny Burke pivot. Now, if you're interested, check out my my YouTube channel and type in Denny Burke. There's quite a few instances of Denny Burke on my channel, and a lot of them are positive because Denny Burke has said some positive things. But Denny Burke is like one of these guys that he's like trying to like smooth over the pivot because he can see Denny Burke kind of does know what time it is. He kind of knows what time it is. I don't want to give him too much credit, but he kind of knows what time it is. And he can sense that there's a lot of angst amongst evangelicals in the pews, of course, but even nowadays in the leadership as well, there's some angst. And people are going to be changing their minds and kind of changing their tunes. And it's going to be, sadly, I mean, the way evangelicals should do it is kind of the way that, who's that woman? I forget her name, but Butterworth, or whatever her name is. Rolinda Butterworth. Man, I can't believe I kept forgetting her name. Anyway, the one that used to be a lesbian and now's married, and she's kind of a base Presbyterian, sort of. Yeah, but Rosario Butterfield. Yeah, that's it. Miss Butterworth. Oh man, I got COVID brain. What can I say? Yeah, when she changed her mind about like pronoun hospitality and stuff like that, she drew attention to it. She said, "Yeah, I used to say this stupid stuff about pronoun hospitality. That was stupid, and I was wrong. And here's why I was wrong. And here's what I believe now." That's the way to do it, that shows some self-reflection. That shows growth. That shows, dare I say, repentance. That's what a Christian should do. But what's going to happen with the evangelical leadership pivot is what typically happens with them, is they're going to start changing their tune. But they're going to pretend like, well, I never really changed. They're just going to pretend like this is what they always believed, There's going to be no acknowledgement of error. There's going to be no, I'm sorry about promoting, Ibram Kendi X and that other idiot that works for him with the hair that looks like spiders growing on it. That kind of thing. They're not going to, what's his name? What's that guy's name? Man, I don't even remember this stuff anymore, man. It's the COVID brain. I'm just gonna say that it's COVID brain. Anyway, so yeah, there's not gonna be any of that. It's just gonna be, just gonna change their tune. And so Denny Burke is trying to smooth that over preemptively. Here's what I said in one of my videos, Denny, and I'll try to post this at the end of this one. Hey, it's great that you're, kind of changing your mind and stuff like that. But why don't you just cool it on the advice? We don't need your advice, actually. We actually don't need your advice. No, thank you. Your social media advice, be nicer, things like that. No, we don't need your advice because, we got a handle on this. You know what I mean? You might know a little bit what time it is, but the thing is, there's a lot of people that look like me, that just have YouTube channels, no institutional power. We know what time it is a lot more than you do. And we're right now, just like we were before, and we're going to be right in the future probably, and you're going to be fighting us every step of the way saying, you're too mean. How about you just cool it on the advice? So it's cool. You can be on our team. You don't even need to apologize. That's the thing. I saw Tom Buck say, hey, it would be nice, if you repented and apologized. And yeah, I agree. That would be nice, Tom Buck. I agree. But you see, I don't need that. I don't need you to admit that you were wrong. I don't need you I don't need you to do what Butterfield did. I mean, it would be great. That would be very helpful to people because I think it's helpful to people to see your progression, right? Like, here's what I used to think. Here's why I was wrong. Here's what I became to think. Here's why I thought that way. I think that's very helpful to people. It's very nice to be honest about your beliefs, right? I've changed my beliefs at certain things and I've explained it. You know what I mean? And so anyway, that would be nice, but I don't need it. What I do need, though, is a little bit of humility from you, because here's what he says. He says, Abigail Schreier is spot on. I don't know who that is, and I'm not going to read that. He says, yes, there are latecomers to opposing wokeness, but greeting them with I told you so, or where were you 5 years ago, or otherwise shaming them is not helpful in forming alliances. Be humble, accept latecomers, move forward. See, I agree with that. You should be humble, you should accept latecomers, and you should move forward. But here's where the issue comes up, Denny. I think that the be humble advice is applied to both sides. I think that the side that's much more likely to not be humble is the side that was wrong and now wants to pretend that they're right, and they still want to be shot callers. You know what a shot caller is, Denny? I don't know if you know what a shot caller is, Denny. A shot caller is the gang leader. He's the one that called. He's the one that, points the gang in the right direction. All right, we're going to steal from this person now. We're going to beat up that guy. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. He's the one that's in charge, the shot caller, Denny. And so here's the thing. If you were so wrong in calling the shots for so long and you were going along, Jamar Tisby, that's the guy. You're recommending Jamar Tisby's book like a freaking idiot. A lot of your friends were doing that, or even one of your best friends, Matt Hall. I'm a racist. Yeah, that's one of my videos is about, where he interviewed Matt Hall to try to smooth over his image after being a critical theorist publicly. When you say stupid stuff like that consistently, and you make the wrong choices, you call the wrong shots, Denny. You don't just get to come here and say, "Oh, I'm a latecomer and I'm still a shot caller." No. That ship has sailed. That ship is sailed. Maybe you can earn your way back into being a shot caller. But for now, you can't call the shots. And this is the problem, Denny. A little humility from your side would go a long way because you're trying to change your tune. Great. We accept you. We can move forward together. We can work together. But you can't be a shot caller anymore. Simple as that. You can't call the shots because we can't trust you. Trust is earned, my friend, and it can be unearned. It can be lost in a minute. So here's the thing. You've lost your credibility. You've lost your respect. You can't call the shots anymore, Denny. Okay? So stop. Because this is what we're getting. We're getting a change of tune, and then you're still sniping at us. You're still sniping at us and saying we're this, we're that, we're racist, we're evil, we're mean, we're grumpy on Twitter and stuff like that. How about you just take a seat, learn from the people who actually accurately called the shots, and then once you've earned a little credibility back and, we could trust you, maybe we can talk. Maybe we can talk, because it would be great if a guy like Denny Burke, got some credibility and said, yeah, that thing Matthew Hall said, that was pretty stupid. I still like Matthew Hall, but, I'm a racist stuff. That's got to go. That's got to go. You see, you start saying stuff like that. You start calling shots correctly. Look, no one says you have to do it like I do, but you need to cool it on your stupid social media advice until you've kind of earned some credibility. So it would be great for you to say, hey, AD, you were right about Matthew Hall. Yeah, he was spouting critical theory there, and he tried to hide it. But, maybe you shouldn't have called him a pencil neck. I don't think I ever did that, but hypothetically, maybe you shouldn't have made fun of his appearance or say he was limp-wristed. Like, I don't know if that's going to really work, you know what I mean? I'd be likely to listen to someone like that. But instead, what we're getting is, oh, you're mean, and you're not right. How could Tim Keller be a Marxist? This is uncalled for. It's just like stuff like that. And so here's the thing, Denny. I could see the pivot. And you were pivoting before most, Denny. You started pivoting a couple years ago. You know what I mean? I've got it on my YouTube channel. Where you were pivoting. And actually, I predicted stuff like this, Denny. I predicted stuff like that. I'm not a prophet, but I predicted stuff like this. But anyway, so that's the thing, guys. Like, yeah, be humble, accept the latecomers, move forward. That's true. I would say the same thing to my side, for sure, right? But Denny, the real example of humility, it would be really, really helpful from your side, because they were the side that were terrible shot callers, still trying to be shot callers today. Maybe a little humility, Denny, would go a long way. Speaking of humility, here's the biggest pivot that I've seen in the last few weeks that I think is so interesting. I don't know anything about this Josh Howton guy besides the fact that I see his tweets often and I don't like them. Simple as that. I don't like them. But Josh here is he's a self-proclaimed Keller fan. He's a Kellerite. He loves Tim Keller. And he admits something interesting here, but he doesn't do it all the way. I think they're trying to save Keller's image, but they recognize that Keller is responsible. Tim Keller is responsible for a lot of what is wrong with evangelicalism today. I mean, there is no question that Keller was an influential person. It's as simple as that. Very influential. I mean, you can even see it with certain preachers that they're trying to copy Keller and all this kind of stuff. Even with a plagiarism and stuff like that, people plagiarize Keller. And here he says that, Keller. Okay, guys. This is an admission. This is another kind of feather in our cap kind of thing. This is Josh Howton, a Kellerite, saying, yeah, he was responsible for a lot of this stuff, but Keller got hijacked. He was misapplied. And it's because he was misapplied that all these bad things happened. It's not because of what Keller did. Here he says, large platform evangelicalism. This is the leader. These are shot callers. Large platform evangelicalism got covertly hijacked by a secular progressivism. So he's acknowledging what we have been saying this entire time is 100% true. That's what Josh is saying. But there's a big but, though. There's a big but. Many aren't yet understanding what's happening, and as a result are attacking the opposite net problem we are facing. Step 1, Keller correctly popularized the phrase, the gospel is neither right nor left. Step 2, his followers incorrectly applied the phrase as right and left are equal and opposite errors. Willingness to adopt left-coded positions became a sign of gospel-centeredness. So, yeah, that's it. That's it. Oh, yeah, disclaimer. His followers' misapplications were the primary problem, in my opinion, not Keller, who I unashamedly love. As a result, these subtle dynamics emerge. Christians advocating left-coded issues equals social justice. Christians advocating right-coded issues equals culture warrioring. This is very, I'm not going to read the whole thread, you know what I mean? But this is very perceptive of Josh. This is exactly the problem. And you know, you could say, you know, Josh was like watching, you know, 80 Robles YouTube channel or John Harris or Joel Webbin or stuff like that, or even Protestia to some degree. And that's where he got all of this stuff, right? You know, the left-coded positions became a sign of gospel-centeredness. This is the stuff we've been saying. I mean, he got this from us. This is true. But the problem is that very first, this is not Keller's fault. This is a misapplication of Keller, because Keller was right. The gospel is neither right nor left. I got to be honest with you. This is not correct. Christianity, and he said the gospel, so I guess I can't say he's not correct, but Christianity is inherently right-wing. It is inherently right-wing. It is right-wing. So this idea of the gospel is Christianity is neither right nor left, it's not true. It's not true. But then he goes, but let's just say it was true. Let's just say you like that phrase. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Christianity is not right or left. But then he says they misapplied Keller's statement there to mean these are equal and opposite errors. No. That was his whole point. That was Keller's whole point. Keller did this intentionally. He wanted the church to soften on left-wing talking points, to not be as aggressively against left-wing talking points. Never mind that the left wing is wrong about everything. Almost everything. I mean, go down the list, and they're on the opposite side. They're inverted. It's inverted morality. The left-wing morality is an inverted morality. It's satanic in the most obvious sense. So never mind that. His whole point was to soften people on democratic policies. Keller was a lifelong registered Democrat. Well, I don't know about lifelong, but he was a registered Democrat when he died, and he had been so for quite some time. This is indisputable. He's a Democrat. He was. And so what Josh is trying to get you to believe is that a registered Democrat, a Democrat voter in New York City, he wasn't really trying to soften the church on left-wing issues. That's not what he was doing. Despite all of the evidence of him doing exactly that from his own mouth. Despite all of it. That's not what he intended. He was actually right. He was just misapplied. Yeah, Mr. I'm going to have 3 male ballerinas, homosexual ballerinas, dancing in my church service. That guy, he was misapplied. I mean, you don't understand. You just don't get Keller. And of course, the response, oh, but he's against abortion. Yeah, sure. Yeah, he's against abortion, but, you know, he's one of these make abortion unthinkable types, I'm sure. Even if he was against it the way he ought to be, it does not excuse the support of democratic policies, the general softening of the position against an inverted morality. Everything that he worked to do was applied correctly in the evangelical intelligentsia today. It was applied correctly. They might have gone further with it, but when he says it was misapplied, he makes it seem like they didn't understand him. They didn't logically, follow his train of thought. They went the opposite way. No, that's not what it is. Maybe some of them went further, but they were logically applying his teaching. This was intentional. Keller did this intentionally. Sadly, this is what his mission was at the end of his life. This is what he wanted to do. He talks about, there are many examples. Just look up Tim Keller on my channel. There are many examples when he talks about this. I remember I sat in I lived in New York for a while, and I liked Tim Keller at the time. And I remember I sat in a church planting seminar or something he did, and I remember the one I went to that I stopped going was about gospel contextualization. it wasn't really about gospel contextualization. It was about this. It was about this exact topic that Josh, but Josh still is pivoting here. He wants to admit the obvious fact, because this is the reason why this thread is even being written, is because it is so obvious that Keller's influence on the church has been negative. It is so obvious. But he loves Keller. He loves Keller. And he's probably promoted Keller. And he's probably, shared his books and referenced him and stuff like that. He doesn't want to say sorry for that, even knowing the insurmountable mountain, tsunami, landslide of evidence that his influence has been negative. So what does he do? He says, okay, it has been negative, but it wasn't his fault. You see, you misapplied him. Keller could have cleared all this up in about 2 seconds flat, but the problem was he was a registered Democrat. And so he didn't want to clear it up because it was already clear what he was doing. At least he wasn't a liar, at least not often. Keller lied on Twitter quite a few times. I mean, it was I remember there's one of those things where he was writing a tweet about something specific, but then he gets called on. He's like, well, I didn't say that. I didn't name names, that kind of thing. Anyway, so yeah, Keller did it all intentionally, but this is a pivot. This is a pivot. And so I take this as a big W. This is a big W. This is the closest you will get to shot callers admitting that they were wrong. He admits that they were wrong, but he doesn't want to be totally wrong. So he's like, well, it was just a misunderstanding. This is just a misunderstanding. That's what's going on here. That's what's going on here. And then finally, here we go. Neil Shenvi. Neil Shenvi's pivoting too. Not really. I just thought this was funny. This is a good one. Years ago, I warned that if evangelical leaders ignored, even worse, embraced critical theory, there could be a reactionary backlash that emerged that embraced actual racism and misogyny. We're unfortunately seeing that today. Yep, that's right. If you embrace critical theory, we're going to get the real misogyny, and the real racism. We're seeing that today. This is all about Neil Shenvi doing pretty much the same thing that Howton was doing. You see, Neil Shenvi goes to a social justice church. He goes to a critical theory social justice church with J.D. Greer. Huge social justice guy. Huge critical theorist. And all the while, Neil's been trying to convince everybody, I'm against God. I am a stand against critical theory. It is one of the most dangerous issues of our day. And his children are sitting under a social justice pastor. Neil is a smart guy, and a lot of the things he says are true, but he's full of it. He doesn't really believe the things he's saying, because if he did, in his unction, in his unction, what's that supposed to mean? I don't know. He wouldn't have his kids being brainwashed by a social justice pastor. It's as simple as that. But yet he remains there. He's very scared of social justice, yet he has his family there under a social justice pastor. It makes no sense. So now what he's trying to do is say, and now, because you all didn't listen to me, now the real misogynists are out there. The real misogynists. I'm against critical theory, but I'm going to use all their terms. There's, of course, the racism and the misogyny. Oh, man. Anyway, so yeah, there's pivoting all around. This is the year of the pivot. 2024 is the year of the pivot. And this is the thing, guys. Like, I think a lot of the pivoting is an attempt to maintain their status as shot callers. That ship has sailed, guys. That ship has long since. You don't get to be leaders anymore. But the thing is, you still are leaders, right? You still got a lot of followers. You still got a lot of people that still respect you. The Al Mohler, they got a lot of guys that still respect him. They, J.D. Greer, all the Josh Howton, Keller, even though he's passed on. And he's with the Lord, he's got a lot of people that still respect him. But the problem is that they've lost the youth. And what I mean by the youth is not the kids, I mean the younger men. They've lost the next generation of shot callers. They've lost them permanently. It's over, guys. It's over. We remember everything. And we remember how you're acting now. And honestly, it's funny. The only thing they can do to maintain their status as shot callers going into the future is to really just do what a Christian ought to do in situations like this, is acknowledge their fault. Acknowledge their fault, repent, and then take a seat and do the work of restoration. That's the one thing they won't do, though. That's the one thing they won't do. So that ship has sailed, guys. Nobody really cares what Matt Chandler's hot take is on the next thing, because we know he's an idiot. We understand that he's effeminate. We don't follow guys like that anymore. We're done with that. We're done with that. And so they've lost the future, and that's what this pivoting is all about. They're trying to hold on to the future, but they're doing it by trying to still hold on to the past kind of thing. Like, they're still trying to hold on to their mistakes. And if you're going to command the future, you need to confront your mistakes and be honest about them and then change your ways. But that's not what they're going to do. So they're going to just try to pivot. They're just going to pivot. See, I'm right. Anyway, yeah, so watch out for this. Watch out for this. There's a lot of humor to be found in here. There's a lot of humor to be found in this kind of stuff. And don't get all mad, because a lot of this stuff, especially like this, the Denny Burke thing here and the Josh Howton thing here, these are W's, guys. You don't understand. Like, Josh is never going to see the light. He's not going to make it. He's just not going to make it. If you think Tim Keller was misapplied, you're not going to make it. I'm sorry. You don't get it. Or maybe you do get it, but you just refuse to allow yourself to get it. But here's the thing, guys. These are W's. This is Josh, as close as he's going to get to saying, 80 Robles, you were right. You were right. John Harris, you were right. You were right about everything. This is him admitting that. This is Denny Burke admitting, you were right. This is just some idiot. Not Grant. James. And Neil Shenvi here. Neil Shenvi has admitted we're right the whole time. Maybe Neil Shenvi was the first pivoter. He was the first pivoter. He wanted to admit we were right, but we're still wrong because we're mean. We're still wrong because you don't call out the misogynists and the racists, and you don't self-police. You're still wrong. A lot of it's very childish. It's very childish. It's like, you were right, but you're still wrong because I don't like you. That's basically what it boils down to. I don't like you, so you're still wrong. Oh boy. Anyway, you got to enjoy the W's, guys. You got to see this for what it is. These are W's. These are wins. Keep it up, brothers. Keep it up. Find the people that are encouraging. Find the people that are right. Find the people that have a good time with this kind of stuff. And these guys, when Denny Burke says, oh, be nice, and then Josh Howton says, oh, it wasn't Keller's fault, you could just laugh at it. You could just laugh at it because it is very funny. In any case, we've been at this for half an hour. I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.